And as always, like, even though sometimes the original video's on your channel, but I'll put it on my channel as well. As always, I'm gonna say like recorded by Weasel.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So let me just make the tweet, and we'll get going. I figure this will be a very informal kind of thing. I'll probably ask you about your latest book. I'll ask you about.
Let me get a copy. Get a copy then.
Yeah, definitely get a copy.
Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. But talk about your book. We'll talk about your current publishing work, what you're doing right now, and just kind of roll with it from there. I may have you read a few pieces. And yeah, again, very, very informal kind of thing. Last night, I know John and I talked for about an hour. So if we get an hour, great. If we don't get an hour, that's fine too.
Hey.
So, but let me.
For wherever, whenever.
All right. So, let me. Tweeting with your phone is not the best.
I can speak from experience. I tried that with somebody's phone. It wasn't the best experience. They're like, just give me back the phone, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, Zach, I can see the touchscreen is just too much of a hardship for you. Okay.
All right. So there we go. That's out. Cool. So, I am here with the one, the only ZM Wise, author of God knows how many books. I was going to count and come prepared and say you're the author of 10 books, but I did not do my research on that. But I know I've published a few of your books, and I know you and I have been in the same poetry circles. We've been friends for what feels like a decade now. So yeah, I'm gonna kick it off to you. I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about yourself, and yeah, tell us how many books you got.
Yeah. So, hello, good evening, all, or morning, or afternoon, wherever on earth you may be. I'm ZM Wise. I am a drifter that Weasel picked up out of the kindness of his heart, and just saw me underneath one of the overpasses selling poetry, and he said, "What on earth are you doing? Come with me in this vast paradiso." No, seriously, no. I'm an Illinois native, currently in Texas, in the process of relocating back to Chicago, and I have 7 books out, 6 of which you can purchase. The first one is out of print. I sort of took back the rights, but Weasel and I talked about possibly publishing it again, maybe making a reissue, maybe with some supplementary material. We'll see. But this is my latest book, Illinois Infinitarium. And if you have a mirror and you can see this, it's even better. Just say Illinois 3 times, and while in the dark, and a picture of the state will leap out at you. Yeah. So this is published by Cherry House Press. Beyond Cherry is just an amazing publisher to work with. One of the best people I've ever met in my life. And so this contains 5 sections of poems as well as an essay called "How Texas Pride Made Me a Grateful Illinoisan." But it's a pretty interesting read. I'm not going to say whether it's gold or whether it's rubbish. That's up to you, not me. I'm just the person who holds the pen. But I'm pretty proud of how this turned out. And yeah, and before this, late last year, I published my second latest work, which was a debut play, which also takes place in Illinois. And it's called Bottles of Emerald for the Demon Queen. It's a legal drama, sort of a courtroom drama in one act that's been brewing, that just brewed in my head. And very proud of how that turned out. It's a bit controversial, but necessary. I'm going to be controversial. I have a purpose. I'm not going to shock you just to shock you. So definitely check that out when possible. I'm also in the process of gathering a little cast together and doing a Skype reading, not a Zoom reading, a Skype reading, or possibly a Discord reading of this play, and sort of what they call a table read, but we'll be acting it out because I wanted to bring this to the stage, and it seems that the world of theater in some places is temporarily obsolete, but we won't let that stop us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So one cool thing, the guest I had last night, John Sullivan, he actually blends poetry with script writing, and so we were talking about doing a Discord session where he'd bring in a few people. There'd be kind of like a table reading kind of situation. So definitely keep me in the loop on that. If you need any help, I'm happy to help you with the Discord side of things because I'm learning it myself and I'm trying to get this thing going. But I'm definitely here to help you with whatever resources that you need. Uh, Especially because in our current time of COVID, it's very difficult to do readings and do almost anything. I mean, even right now, I think Michigan is about to shut down again. So it's pretty crazy out there. But to go back to your most recent book, Illinois Infinitarian.
Yeah, Illinois Infinitarian.
So that looks like
my
a huge.
First book to have title on the spine.
Yeah. So that was one of my things. Is like this looks like a pretty huge book. First of all, what is the size, and how many poems do you have in this thing?
So I wrote this the span of a couple months in 2015, and it was like one of those poem a day or two a day type of sessions, and it's much larger than normal. The exact measurements unfortunately escape me. I'm terribly sorry to sound so unprofessional on that level, but it's definitely not the measurements that we've used in the past and the measurements that Transcendent Zero Press has used. It's much larger. So it's almost between a regular sized book and a coffee table book. I'd say it's the homunculus or runt version of a coffee table book. But there are about 80 pieces in here.
Okay.
Wow. One of them was originally in another notebook, and I switched it with another piece that wasn't really Illinois themed, and it was something I also wrote on the obituary site for a friend of mine that passed just 1 or 2 years before, for the making of this book, and it was just sort of a tribute to him and his life. He sort of brought out the sporty side in me in childhood, if I ever had one. We used to play street hockey in the streets. I was the goalie, and parents who were driving home from work would just be so ticked off at us because we would just be playing in the middle of the street. We would just be laughing as they were honking at us. Good times, great oldies.
Yeah. So what was your experience like with Cherry House Press? Because that's a new publisher for me. I've not heard about them on the small press circuit, and I try to stay fairly up to date. So these people must be pretty new.
Fairly new. They've been around for a few years. Like you, I try and stay as updated as possible with as many indie houses as possible, and this one is actually out of this place called Arthur, Illinois. Pretty far from Chicago. They're from the description right near Amish country, and it's a very rural place. But from what I hear, it's gorgeous. And yeah, Ariana Cherry the staff are just absolutely amazing. I think what I love about Indie Presses the most, whether it's working with her, working with you, working with Dustin and myself, or anyone else, it's just I'm not trying to bash the major mainstream publishers. It's just there's more. It's more homely. You feel like you're more or less treated like a genuine human being.
Mm.
I think there's more individual contact. There's more in-depth services and whatnot. There are advantages and disadvantages to everything. I'm not saying this is totally advantageous, but
I mean, when you have
I will absolutely promote Indie Presses until the day I pass.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a small press, I mean, you're mostly working with like one or two people, and you know it just as well as I do, being an editor for Transcendent Zero Press. So I mean, I've not looked at what you guys have done lately. I see the website still looks about the same, so I don't know. I don't know what new projects you guys have going out now, but I mean, it's rough. I think I was just talking about it the other day on a blog post of just like everything that you have to do just to make it work. You know, from money to just getting the royalties out on time if you can, to putting the books together, promotion, tweeting.
Oh yeah,
it's like you are essentially the powerhouse. You know, so it looks like you agree.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Twitter. I haven't been on there for a little over a month on purpose. Feels great. As much as I love promoting my work and others, but I've been seeing multiple tweets from multiple editors who say the same thing. Like those who constantly hound them for suppose a reply to their submission and whatnot. Like we're getting to it. Please understand that some of us are not being paid. This is a labor of love, and we will get back to them as soon as possible. It's not easy, especially when a team consists of just one or two people.
Yeah.
So and it makes a lot of sense, and that might be one of the disadvantages that you don't have a whole department. But for me that's fine. I think there's more control, in my opinion, when there's just one or two people, or even three.
Mm.
From personal experience, I haven't worked with a mainstream publisher. I mean, I've heard some great things, but just from my personal experience, it's been pretty tame.
Yeah, I mean, mainstream publishing is all corporate, anyways. Why bother with that? So tell me, is Transcendent Zero Press, is that still you and Dustin? Is there anyone else on in that, or?
Yeah, so we have. Dustin took on another assistant editor way too long ago. She's helped edit a few of the no manuscripts, but she's helped with the selection process with Harbinger Asylum. She's a pretty decent person, and been working with us for a little while now. She was in India and has assisted us greatly. Might not be with us much longer, but it's an undetermined answer right now. It might just be focusing on our studies, but who knows? So yeah, but it's still up and running.
Okay, so how is TZP faring in COVID right now? Like COVID's hit a lot of us small presses hard. So how is that hitting you guys?
That's part of the reason why Dustin and I have day jobs, just in case we were to hit a snag like this. I greatly admire those who endure this full time, but I need just a little more security than that. I need a little more guarantee. And still selling books, certain books like hotcakes, certain books not at all, but it varies. We've taken on some new marketing strategies, and actually during COVID, I've been attending. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire! A great deal of Zoom events from. They're mostly during the evening, but some are very educational, some are very informative, others are just entertaining. But a few of them have just included, marketing courses, specifically those catered to publishing. And I attended this one recently, and I felt bad for the poor facilitator because I guess he wasn't expecting a question like this. He was the four most marketable books they're mostly fiction, thriller, mystery, romance, fantasy, and then he went on to say, if you're going to try and sell nonfiction, might as well just give up. I mean, it's interesting to hear one person's opinion, because that's how you have to enter into it. Despite their credentials, you can't think, oh, they are the god of publishing. No, you can't assume that. And so I asked a question: how about selling and promoting poetry? He's like, oh, poetry. Oh my. I don't know. I don't know about that. Okay, next. So, at least he was honest.
Well, yeah, and so I know. For me, marketing courses are, they're almost useless. You have this one guy charging, fuck knows how much cash just to tell you, learn how to hashtag or learn how to get engagement. And those courses are great for people who, they're not big with technology. And so, like, if you don't know Twitter or Facebook, or if you've just not been on those sites before, it might be okay for that. But it's like, for me, they just don't offer anything new. Because I've attended at least one or two marketing sessions, and it's just not productive. Especially when you're paying upwards of $75 sometimes, even $100 for some people. It's like you almost have to create your own marketing strategy, and so I guess that leads into my next question: is what is TZP doing for their books?
Before I answer that, I was just gonna say in reply to what you were saying before, those reasons exactly are why most of the events I'm attending, 99% of the events I'm attending are free. Because, if I'm going to pay, I need at least some guarantee, some sort of I want consumer reports. I want to hear I learned so well, and not just any sort of generic response, no generic review,
Yeah.
But how are we marketing? Well, we're probably going to purchase an ad in a somewhat reputable either magazine or gazette. In fact, I'm actually in the process of speaking to a few gazettes and magazines in Illinois right now to put this baby out there.
Okay.
And hypothetically speaking, I'm not saying I would do this because it's quite costly and quite economically perilous. I was thinking, because I've never seen this before, why not, at least when I move back up, why not purchase a billboard for a month?
So,
nobody does that in poetry.
So I've actually had an author purchase a billboard. They it was Heath Brocker, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and he released a book with us. He did a full page advertisement in Poets and Writers magazine, and a month long billboard. And I think he was in New York. I can't remember where exactly he was at, but it didn't get any traction. So it's like, you spend all that money, especially like in Poets and Writers magazine. It's like, how many people look at Poets and Writers? Like, there's a lot of people who subscribe to that, and that still didn't get any kind of clicks or anything. So,
yeah.
So I'm a little.
We've done the same thing in Poets and Writers, and it's not only. I mean, yeah, it could be wonderful for us. It's the number of subscribers, but also think of who we're up against.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and a part of me hears that and gets that. It's like we are up against millions of other authors, and that there's something to be said about that. But at the same time, I think there's more to be said about creating engagement as opposed to creating just an advertisement. And
Agreed.
so
Agreed.
and so I think that's where small presses need to focus their energy is creating community and learning how to listen to that community and foster that community and say, hey, what do you guys want? And the more you become a bit more of a person rather than an image, it's a bit easier for the audience to trust you. At least that's been my experience so far. It's like you can't just put a tweet out there and say buy my book. That's not going to get anything. But if you start doing things like, hey, what's your favorite horror movie, or something related to what you're doing, it's like you get a bit more traction on that. So it seems like it's more creating community is the best way to get seen, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's in a way, it's kind of like it's the literary version of earning trust. They might feel a bit safer with you if you form some sort of bond. Like oh, well, this person actually has something to say. Yeah, of course I'll buy their book. It's just, I mean, I'm not going to buy some random book if I haven't heard the person, if I don't know the person, because I think like a long time ago I used to be that person like, oh, this title looks interesting. Okay, swipe and whatnot. But I mean, you remember late great Anne Fogelman, who was the poetry wrangler. She would recruit people in bookstores, and I told her I was very anxious about publishing, and she said, well, I understand that. I think that's very ambitious of you, but people need to hear you first. Same goes with a novelist. Show us excerpts. I mean, yeah, great, you're working on a novel. Awesome. And a sampling of it. Can you elaborate a bit more? So I mean, it goes for all different types of artists in general. It's part of the reason why musicians release singles before the album.
Yeah,
it's sort of a teaser.
Yeah, and I mean, and that goes for like the chapbook and poetry. It's like you make a chapbook because it's just a sampling of 10, 15 poems. And back before COVID, we talk about it like it was that long ago. It was really just a year ago. Like before COVID, we were doing readings. I mean, you and I did a reading before I left Houston. Like that was the last reading I did was at Tacos My Way. You were at Tacos My Way, I think, right? Yeah. So like that was
we were it was like a farewell party.
Yeah. So like that was the last active reading that I did in person. I mean, there was a couple of Zoom events here and there, and Friendswood Public Library, they did their thing a few weeks ago, which I just had my poem pulled from the project, just because there's some personal problems between me and another poet. But it's it's getting weird now. That's something I wanted to ask you. Like, what are you guys doing in regards to like events? Are you guys trying to foster like some Zoom events, or like what's going on with that?
So, maintain that I probably won't host again until I move back home. I sort of gave that torch of hosting in Houston to a dear friend of mine, Kayla, who was a very, very faithful and reliable attendee and pretty much came out of her shell with her work, just blossomed so much. And so I sort of gave her the readings, and that was last October. So for me, I've actually been attending a lot of Zoom open mics. Like it clicked I felt that whether I'm among a group of aspiring authors or just performers or established authors or whatnot, I think it's also a great way to promote my work as well, because I love it even better because it's not local. And I love hearing these pieces from all these talented individuals from around this blue-green dome of ours. I mean, really, you really get a more versatile feel who they are. But that's what I've been doing. Not religiously, of course. I'm not the type of person. I can't attend an open mic every single evening. For me, I like to earn it. I like knowing I have something to look forward to. You know?
Yeah. And then to kind of go back to what you had said earlier, running a press is one thing, but you have to have a day job to kind of manage that. Do you know anyone right now who is doing this full time without a day job?
There's one person, and her press is actually in Illinois. We haven't spoken for the longest time. Her name is Mallory Smart, and her press is called Maudlin House.
Okay.
And I was published by them, I'd like to say about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And yeah, and so she told me that she and her partner they believed in themselves. They wanted to take this on full time. She was working, but she wanted to just tackle this. I have no idea how she's doing present time. For her sake, I hope there's some stability there.
Yeah, I know she's still publishing the magazine aspect of it, because there was an author that we had who left us recently, and he gets short stories published by Maudlin House almost like every other month. So I know she's still going strong. I don't know if she's putting out any kind of books, but even then, like, she does short run books. I think I don't think she's like you or me where we do the print on demand. She has a stack of books, and once she sells them, it's almost like they're gone. Which, if you can do that, more power to you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I think. It's definitely power to her. That's the only person I know, but I'm sure there are others. Some who still attempting this feat, and others who say, okay, might be time to have a plan B in mind.
Yeah. Well, I know with Weasel Press, it's like everything comes out of my own paycheck, anyways, and with most of this year being
for you, like it's out of pocket for you, buddy.
Yeah, everything we do is out of pocket. I know we have a magazine that we're working on right now, and it takes about $700 just to make happen. So it's like you have to have a day job to do what I'm doing, because there's just you don't get much back on it. I mean, I was looking at some of our books. We get maybe $2 back, and I imagine that's kind of the same as what TZP is getting is, maybe $2 or $3 from KDP.
Yeah, online royalty, it's peanuts. That's why I still maintain to this day selling by hand is much better.
Yeah, but it's hard to do that right now.
Right now, of course.
It's like
we should all just get those long plastic like claws, like with the grabbers, and just say, here, do you want to just attach the money? Here you
go. Yeah, because it's like I think I was talking about this in a furry convention that Johnny and I were doing. We talked about anthology sales, and some of the things that the other publishers had mentioned were like convention sales are gone right now. And I know for me with Weasel Press, we've been doing mostly poetry, if not all poetry, And how poets make it is we buy our books and we go on tour. You know, it's like we have a small tour set up, and that's where we're pushing our books, and that's gone right now too. So sales wise, it's just not been easy. And I'd imagine it's not easy for TZP.
Oh no, I was actually going to ask you like how are sales going for Weasel Press and Red Ferrets and the other subsections.
Oh yeah, there's so many subsections. So we've gotten some moderate success with a couple of our books. I think I've sold upwards of like 100 copies of a couple of books. But when you look at the royalties on that, it's again $2, maybe $1.50 on some of that. So you know, it's all Ingram's taking whatever they can out of it. Amazon takes whatever they can out of it. Then it goes to taxes, and you know, there's a whole chain of events that happens before you actually see it, and then you split that with the author. So it's like, you know, you're getting 40% of $2. It's not a whole lot. So we're seeing a decent size, I would say. We've never really broken 100 copies before. But I guarantee you, it's just that one release month, and after that, it's just gonna fall off. So keeping that momentum going is where you have to focus the energy at, and that's where all of our tour stuff was happening, and you know, a lot of authors would create readings and book releases, and again, that's just not happening right now. So it's been tough.
Yeah.
I will definitely say it's been tough. But we're not. I mean, we've been in danger of closing ever since I started. So you know, like we're not going to close anytime soon. But I'd like to give it at least another. I'd like to give it at least another 10 years before I shut the doors.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you at all. I don't blame you. Dustin and I were actually talking about. Remember how it was before we actually went into business?
It's like you had money to yourself at that point. You weren't giving it all to this publishing child that was just needing money for this or that, or you know, whatever field trip was coming up. You know what I mean? It's like we love it, even though we complain about it.
It really, I really look at this as I have to compare this to theology. There isn't a whole lot of revenue. It's a calling. It's a calling. It's a passion. You decide to turn it into an actual business. You have to keep that flame burning somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was actually, speaking of events, I was actually going to say, you know what my favorite part about your farewell open mic was?
What was that?
When Johnny unexpectedly came in and surprised
you. Yeah, I was not expecting that. And they said that they gave me hints here and there, but I'm like, I don't remember any of that. I just remember they were on the plane. I was trying to get to Tacos My Way, and about an hour or so later, they appeared. And I was like, oh, okay.
So, that happened.
Yeah.
And then I read a couple of great pieces. I remember that. And with such, they have such conviction in their voice, I swear to goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was like, man, that was something. Because it was the morning after I was gone. I was already on the road. We were on our way to Florida so we could get to a cruise. Because Johnny had gotten me that as a Christmas present.
Right. That's right.
And then it's like from the tip of Florida to all the way up here to Lansing's, we drove. That was our life for the whole of December.
Oh man!
So it was.
How many did you two stop at hotels along the way, or did you just make it one straight shot?
we didn't stop at any hotels. I know we stayed with Johnny's dad one night, um, but it was a straight shot after that. So like
Wow.
we plowed through Florida, we went through Georgia, um, and we stayed in Tennessee for the night, and we just booked it for Michigan, and I've been here ever since. I mean, we've gone down to Tennessee a couple times since then, but with COVID, it's like you're not driving anywhere, you're not traveling anywhere. I know before COVID hit, we went to see Evil
Yeah.
Dead the musical in Chicago, and that was the last of that. There was no traveling after that.
So how long is Michigan going to be shut down again? Like when you say it's going to be shut down again, like what are they enforcing?
So right now, there's no word on if it's going to be shut down. There's some rumors going on. We're at a really high peak with COVID. I think we're about where we were at back in March, if not over. Which back in March we shut down. But right now there's some legality or there's some questions happening on what the governor can and can't do. Because Michigan is, I think, one of the first states to have a precedent on the powers of the governor, because they took her power away to shut down the state. I think back in August, like that was a whole court case that was happening. So there's no word on if it's going to shut down. I expect us to, in fact, I would almost say do it now. But it's really going to be up to how the state handles it, and I don't know how much power she's going to have in that, unfortunately. Because before the Supreme Court case here, it was, what she said went, and it was, state of emergencies. We did our, we did our shutdown. There was no one going to work. Everyone was working from home. You could barely be outside unless you had to go to the store, pretty much. And you could go for a walk or whatever, but you need distance, all that, masks. Masks are still required here too, which is a good thing. But people aren't really following that, which is the big issue. Is like
right, no.
Like people aren't following any of the guidelines. No one wants to social distance. No one wants to wear a mask. It's like,
oh, that's when you call on the Darwin Awards.
Yeah, I suppose. But even then, like if these people get sick, it's like they are filling hospital beds. It's going to get to a point where the hospitals are at capacity again, if they're not already. So, we can joke about that all we want, but it's like it's really serious in the fact that these people are going to die. It's all because they just don't want to wear a mask, which, it's you hate to say it's on them at some point, but it's like it's not just on them. It's you have to protect the whole of community. So just because they don't want to wear a mask, they're affecting everybody.
Yeah, it's much bigger than just yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Every might as well be protecting all of us if you're doing so.
Yeah.
It's frightening to think about that there are those who would intentionally defy such simple guidelines. I know that there are some slight exceptions, like somebody might have a condition where it might not be the best to wear a mask, but at the same time, then those people shouldn't be in public then.
Well, I mean, and there's ways to help those people though. So I know for some people there's online ordering. There's ways that they can get help. I know the state here is very good at helping people find resources when they need it. So it really is a state by state thing, because I don't think Texas is that way at all. Getting help in Texas is not even a thing. So it's really going to be based off of your state. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. And with our current political climate, we'll have to take it as it comes, I guess, in a way, because there's so much happening. Uh, but getting
Oh
back
yeah.
to but getting back to your work and your book specifically, um,
Mhm.
you had mentioned wanting to do your very first book, Taking Back Kingswood Clock. You wanted to re-release that. What would that look like if you were to re-release it?
That's a good question. I mean, if I were to do so again, I'd probably wait until 2023 because that would be the 10-year anniversary of its release.
Okay.
And I might possibly release some supplementary material attached to that. See, here's the thing: my first two books, Take Me Back Kingswood Clock and The Wandering Poet, they were just notebooks. They were entire notebooks, and there was no soul concept behind that. My mind at the time was thinking this is what I call potpourri delights. Illinois Infinitarium has a theme. Cosmos and the Horned Ones has a theme. Wolf, my epic poem, has a theme. Cuentos de Amor, my chapbook, has a theme. But I at the time though I kind of liked releasing just entire notebooks of my work. I thought that was alright. The Wandering Poet did kind of have a little concept, especially with the title piece. But because I thought to myself, not everyone releases collections with a sole concept. I mean, especially with a great deal of contemporary poets. Oh, this collection is about life, loss, love, relationships, and the list goes on and on. There's not just one sole concept. So yeah, so it's me again in 2023.
Yeah. Okay. So you said you got the rights back on that. What was that process like?
Well, because it seemed like, I think all I'm allowed to say is Afric Press Mouth Lit went in a different direction. So I felt that it was necessary. I felt I had to take the rights back, just in case. But yeah, it was just a simple process. One email, one response, and just best of luck, you know. So it's, I mean, he's a pretty amicable fellow. So, and yeah, it was just pretty simple. I still remember the day I was in Walmart. I was getting a very cheap oil change at the time, and when I got the news, he called me and said, "We're going to publish your first book." And I remember I was just jumping around like some sort of rabid dog. It was insane. But yeah, yeah, it felt lovely. That I think my main, sorry to go on a slight tangent here. It's a relevant tangent. Whenever I have self-doubt about my work, like many others, confidence issues are a big thing. I'm at the point where, like I said, I'm a person who holds the pen. It feels good to write or sing, as you know. I've been singing just here and there occasionally. Whether it's great or not is up to the reader or the listener. It's not I really don't feel that it's up to me. I don't feel I deserve that sort of power. But we'll say, like, with getting published, whether it's a full-length collection or an individual piece or like a piece of prose or whatnot, if I ever have any self-doubt, I can rest easy in the knowledge that someone out there thought that it was good enough to publish. So it helps.
Okay. And would you be doing re-releases of any of your other books?
Maybe, not sure. Definitely one of Illinois Infinitarium after a few years. I would definitely have some supplementary material, and we were going to release the original cover. It's in black and white. It's slightly different. Ariana and I talked about it, so it's a done deal. Both. I'm going to wait to see how much traction this baby gets,
Okay.
and of course, like I said, market and whatnot. I remember you and I talked about possible releases of Wolf, and then Cuentos de Amor, which, of course, I told you I wrote parts 2 and 3. And for those of you who have read it, for me, the whole point of the piece is to stop writing it. That's probably the reason why you and I talked about re-releasing it, because you made some, like, just off the charts, incredible, amazing covers of both. Which I still have, I believe, and I think you do too.
I still have the files. Yeah.
Yeah. Like sometimes I'll take a look at them on my computer. I'm like, oh, look pretty neat. Looking just like that. I did love the wolf stock photo for the original cover. I still think it gives me such elated chills. Like I just love staring at this canine face that's staring back at me. I love it.
Yeah, and I think there's, I'm a bit of a cover snob today. I can look at anyone's cover and then be like, well, this is pretty bad. But I think there is a certain charm in just going back to your early days and being like, for the time, that was pretty kick-ass. And being able to redo it and with a whole new cover, it's like, man, look at what I did 6 or 7 years ago versus today, and it's like, look at how much I've grown from there. So there's a whole process of just acknowledging growth, acknowledging like your skill sets, and it's very affirming in a way, especially when you're in a position that is just defeating almost every day. So it's a very affirming thing. So yeah,
truly.
Wolf was one of my favorite releases. I could say that.
That means so much to me. You have no idea. And the fact that we got to work on it together was just, I thought it was a more enhanced experience rather than just giving it to you.
Yeah. Because we met a lot during that time, didn't we?
Yes. Agreed. Yeah, and we had a couple events as well. But sometimes, speaking of earlier work, and sometimes my juvenilia, I practice this exercise sometimes, whether it's taking a look at my old work, hearing my old recordings, maybe hearing extremely old songs. I practice this exercise that's try not to cringe at what makes you cringe. See how far you could go. So whether it's looking at your juvenilia, or even just some of your earlier releases, how do you do with that test?
I know for me I have books I won't even acknowledge right now. It's like, yep, those books existed at one point. I don't even want to look at them. I know, like my partner, they're going through some of my earlier stuff. Like they have the book Ashes to Burn, and they're going through that, and I'm like, no, put that back on the shelf. We're not looking at that right now. Which that was a trip for me to have published, because it was a different experience, just with TZ Press and releasing that book. Yeah, that's a whole experience I won't go into right now, but it was very different for me.
Very different indeed.
But yeah, I mean, you and I, we've hit taco shops, we've hit cafes, we've been on the market for what feels like ever.
Yeah. And I think I had my first individual piece published in very very late 2010, and then just went on just went on from there. And yeah, I remember meeting you because I have the recording. Like sometimes you'll see on my YouTube, I upload the files they call Vintage Wise, and they're old recordings of my open mics. And I remember I met you at Barnes and Noble. It was during a reading. You were talking. Excuse me. You were talking to me. You were saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna start this press and a magazine." And I'm like, "Yeah, hey, far out. Keep me in the loop." And yeah, you and I just skyrocketed from there. We were in Sherlock's Pub. May it rest in peace. When Opie kind of coined the name Red Ferret.
Yeah, you were there for that one. I remember that. Yeah, that was a very different feeling back then.
Yeah.
I never thought Vagabonds would still be around. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't even think Weasel Press would even be here today. I didn't think I'd be doing any of this. I didn't think I'd have a Discord or any of this shit that we've got going on. It's like, at some point in time, I recognized that there's going to be an end date to Weasel Press. And there is. There's just going to be one. Just because, like, when you look at the structure of the house, it's me. I mean, there's myself and my partner, but my partner's not gonna take it over, nor would I wish that on them. It's like when I'm ready for it to go, it's gonna go. And if someone else wants to come in and take it over and take the reins from there, we can talk to that process. But there is an end date to Weasel Press. It's just whenever I'm done.
Yeah, right.
And if I were to ever die early, it's like there's no backup for that. It is what it is.
And you did that on purpose.
I did.
I saw you try not to smirk. I'm like, oh, people.
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
For those of you who are watching this and don't know, I sort of have this very annoying first world pet peeve that if somebody is involved in the arts, they shouldn't be saying something as bland as it is what it is. But I let Weasel slide with that because he's just a wonderful person, and I know he does it just to raise the hairs on my skin. So.
I'm thousands of miles away.
I saw you. You were like, it is what it is, and then you're like, this side smile.
I'm thousands of miles away. I have to piss you off in some fashion.
Of course. Mission accomplished, comrade.
Good. I live to piss people.
But no, seriously though, I mean, yeah, sooner or later, all good things must come to an end, but who knows when that concrete date is. I mean, Dustin and I have talked about the same thing, and just maybe still continuing what we do, but taking away the business aspect of it, because we both agree that there was more passion in it. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're still passionate about what we do. We love releasing manuscripts. We love working with authors from around the world. That's what I call a privilege. But but sometimes, especially during wacky time like this, I mean, we don't know how long we can prosper. So it's just it'll just depend. It really will.
Yeah.
I can't speak for him because he's the brains behind like 90% of what we do. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's got to be difficult for him right now too, because he's not able to do his shindigs like he used to. He's not bringing.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, so those events brought us a heck of a lot of revenue. But yeah. So what was I gonna say? Are there any books of poetry that you've read recently that have really just captivated your soul this year, despite everything?
I've been doing a lot of reading, but I haven't really read a whole lot of poetry this year.
Mm-hmm.
let's see. Well, I mean, I've got this here. If I can do this without knocking a bunch of shit over. So, one of the books that kind of helped me get through my past relationship, helped me work through the abuse of that relationship and everything, was a book by Clementine von Radix called A Mouthful of Forevers. And so I pick this up every so often whenever I need a pick me up or whenever I just need to write, And for me, poetry is it's like a religion for me. It's like I'll turn to that to find whatever I need to find, and it's like, okay, this clicked for me. Now I can go do X, Y, Z. Um, it's a very saving grace for me in a lot of ways, especially because my work has changed drastically from when I was, from when you and I first met. I mean, I didn't have a whole lot of experience in what I was doing, 8 years ago. Um, but now it's like I'm writing about my own experiences with racism. I'm writing about my own experiences with homophobia, domestic abuse. It's like I'm pulling in all of this and I'm throwing it into my books. I've had 2 poetry book releases this year, and all of that is just because of a need to say there's a problem that we have here in America. There is a problem with diversity. There is a problem with our government. I mean, we're seeing protests for a reason. Police brutality is a serious thing. Black Lives Matter. And very few people are listening to that. So, I'm writing what I'm writing because a lot of what's happening is affecting me. A lot of issues with race, a lot of just like even something as simple as going to the store and being, I don't know if you can hear that, but someone just drove by the house. But even just going to the store for me is an anxiety attack, just because I have to worry if I'm going to be followed by some random white person and being accused of stealing. Like, that's a thing that happens. It happened to me when I was in Texas. It happened to me when I was in Alabama, and it happens, everywhere. It's not just me that experiences that. It's not just me that experiences issues with getting pulled over. Like, BIPOC citizens in this country live in fear. We live in fear. And so I wasn't writing about any of this 8 or so years ago. But, that's where I'm at today. And it's gotten to a point where even Weasel Press has changed how we're dealing. Like, we stopped. So Weasel Press changed at May, saying that we're only going to work with marginalized voices. If you were published with us in the past, of course, we'll work with you again. But moving forward, we're only going to work with people of color. We're only going to work with current or former sex workers, queer, trans artists, HIV positive artists. So, we're really focused on giving a platform to people who don't have it. And I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but Lee and Low, they do a yearly kind of like blog post on where diversity is at in publishing, and it's 76% of the publishing industry is white, and that's where Weasel Press wants to change that. So that's kind of where our focus is right now, or my focus is right now. So yeah, it's what I'm writing today is very different than what I was writing 8 years ago. The book I did with TZP, I don't even want to look at it. And it goes beyond just like the cringiness of the book. It's where was my mind at that time? What was I like at that time? When I wrote that book, I wasn't even the same person. And that's kind of where I'm getting to the point. I'm leaning into this question here for you is, how do you see the differences between today and your first book? Like, what does that look like for you?
Sometimes I don't even want to look at that book. Sometimes I'm glad it's out of print.
I have a
You'll
copy.
see it on Amazon, like $900 something. And I'll just tell somebody, oh yeah, that's how much it's worth. Go get it. But I get a lot of royalties there. No, but no, I think
You're talking about this one, right?
I think just like you. No, I'm flattered that you still have it. No, but
of course I have it. You signed it.
That's right. That's right. I did. In between that one and just like my current, just unpublished work in itself, it was in two very different places. I think more. I think over the years I've also been, besides my mind changing about certain viewpoints of life, I've also been. I'm not sure if I told you this, but I think early on I shot myself in the foot by just being content, just calling myself a poet and just establishing myself as just a poet. But I wanted to do so much more. I wanted to explore any more fields of writing, just field of the arts in general. I wanted to practice my singing much more. But I think I'm kind of like Leonard Cohen. Primarily, I will be a writer. I prefer to be known for my writing first, and singing comes at a close second, I believe. But whether it's with writing style, topics of choice, or just these vast fields of exploration, I think I'm a completely different human being. Truly, you might see hints of similar themes in certain pieces, but other than that, not too much. I recently wrote the first short story I've written in over 15 years, and because back in August, I started a certain practice. I started journaling again. I haven't journaled itself since high school, but for me, it really isn't the Dear Journal. I feel like this today type of format, it's like a writer's journal. There are observations, personal philosophies, quotes, like just different types of writings, like essays. There's a short story in there. An extremely lengthy, cathartic essay that I'm currently typing up right now, based on something that happened last year, and of course, new poems and songs. So it's just, and that's kind of the way I like it. I thought that for the longest time, whenever I would be writing in a notebook, I don't have to journal. Everything I'm conveying is through my work. I don't feel like I have to be so direct. But I will say this, though. It really helps me declutter a great deal. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that potpourri format of just different types of writings coming together, whether it's like a dialogue piece or an essay or a short story or a poem or a song or just a little quip or a quote, whatever. Just really, I really like that format. So it really, I feel like I've made some great strides. I think I've become stronger in a great many ways. I feel like I've become weaker in a great many ways. I always say the road to self-evolution does not cease until death, and I don't think it should work any other way. I mean, you can achieve certain goals, but then you don't just stop. There are other goals to achieve. I think that's what's so beautiful about life. You just like art. Yes, this is published, but it's never truly finished. It really isn't. That's why some artists I know, they don't like to look at their published work, because they're like, okay, it's already out. What if I made a mistake? What if I made a mistake? And then next thing you know, oh, there it is. It's a mistake. So, sermon over.
All right. Well, it's a little over an hour, so it's about time to wrap this up. I'm going to ask you to read a couple a couple of pieces, whatever you want to read. And then once you get done with that, I'm going to ask you for a request. I'm gonna request a piece from you. So read the two that you want to read, and then I will request a piece.
Wow. I feel flattered. I should tell you one. Normally I don't do requests unless, of course, I've been asked to do so. Okay. I have to thank Victor Borga for that joke. Okay, so, and for those of you who don't know, an excellent pianist and also just amazing humorist from the mid 20th century up until, I believe, the 90s. Amazing person. Okay, let me see here. As you can see, I'm so prepared. Okay. I'm going to read the somewhat title piece of this book, and it's just called Illinois. I am such a lover for you. One cannot help but stare at your monumental buildings, at your fundamental beginnings, at your elemental beings, at your mental belongings. I shall be promiscuous for you. Allow me to be the most gentlemanly person for you and bicycle through such spacious parks and great block streets. You see the shapes of the words that are forming from speechless, rusty mouth? When I speak of you to peers, the floodgates open wide. I am such a fanatic of yours, land of 1800s leaders and duality's two best friends. Make me blush as I roll down the hill at the village green during sweetest summer. I am an alleged arthropod among northern predators, but my pincers of pacifism will make the point. And caked with winter flakes, families sled down happily as icicles form around delightful eye sockets. I enter your fields in exquisite candor and a chuckle. I cannot grasp the entirety of your majestic existence. Words cannot describe, pictures cannot explain the magnitude of your conscious decisions when it comes to the naming of a new country, the birthing of a new settlement. Your roads, paved with hours upon hours of endless scenery outside in. Would you believe that I was once a faithful lad, hugging you tightly and awaiting our tearful reunion? 'Twas a shame for a 15-year separation, but now I return to the green age, to the maple aura, to your welcoming embrace. Now I am home within the state's arctic womb, and revolution finds me as a stranger. In the heart of every poet is doubt, inexplicable doubt. Within the roots lies ignorance of bliss and abundance of joy. His flower has yet to mature and blossom. Within his roots, enter the sanctuary of Illinois. And then my second piece. Still awake? Good! Alright, great. Alright. So half of this, well, I shouldn't say half of it, a great deal of this book was from from documents of research, and then, of course, a great deal of it is personal. Let me see here. I want to see if this is... Okay, yeah. Since in a couple weeks it'll be Native American Heritage Day, so this is in the history section of the book, and I wrote about the many different tribes from Illinois, and also in that area. And this one is called Native Sensations. Taking back what was respectfully their initial landscape, escape from it all, families rubbed out in red action. Winnebago, Kickapoo, Fox. Federal government wanted nothing but tension during the treaty production. Timing is terrible in the Badlands, tainted by whitest discovery. Yanksha, Chippewa, Iroquois, disregarded and placed in such secular communities as silence acts out in rebellious modernization. Nativity's hushed tones speak out. This land has always been yours and always will be, oh, beginning civilization. See it warfare, flowing in the ever-changing presence of chastity's destruction, yet humanity insists on being at the summit. Ottawa, Shawnee, Kaskaskia, plague to agencies that regulate peace between parties that never needed regulation to begin with. They had peace until the ships. Hondo, Michigamia, Towatami, still ye sing of a deadened pain, still ye dance to flame and rain, still ye smoke to a returning journey, still these pale hands are the ones that tended wounded knees. Soul and Fox, Oinwina, this land is your land and always will be, oh, original peoples. And there you have it.
Okay. So I'm going to request one piece from you. Do you have a copy of Wolf on hand?
Let me. I think I might know which one it is, but I could be wrong.
Which one do you think I'm going to ask for?
Actually, no. I was thinking of something. No, never mind. I don't, because I want to. Yeah. Unfortunately, no, I do not. Okay. I don't have one. I mean, if you'll allow, I think there's one I gave to my folks. I can grab it and run and grab it.
No, we don't have to do that. So pick a third piece from your latest one.
Sure. I mean, it's no trouble. I could just run and go get it.
Yeah, no. We'll go with the new stuff. That's fine.
Okay. Sorry.
No worries.
Actually, I have all the original documents on my on my laptop because I'm using a Chromebook for this. You can just pull it up.
Okay.
All right. Give me a second.
Sure. I was gonna go with the Wolf and Blues. How is that laptop holding up? Oh, he may not be able to hear me.
That's a sweet little setup I got here. All right, let me just go to my folder.
I didn't see your headphones at first. I didn't realize you couldn't hear me. But I was telling you I was going to go with the Wolf and Blues.
Oh, Wolf and Blues? Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. I make it a habit to, like, in a notebook or just a current piece or whatnot, or just a full-length collection, I try to include at least one piece that I'll turn into a blues song. I mean, many of them have lyrical pieces that I would eventually turn to songs, but the blues, especially old blues, like Robert Johnson, Blind Lemon Jefferson, Lead Belly, like they've meant the most to me. Like Bessie Smith too. So yeah, Wolf and Blues was definitely fun to write. Okay, let me get that one. I'm not going to sing it. If you want to hear me sing it, it's on my YouTube channel, acapella. Because I want you lovely people to keep your ears intact.
Yeah, you and I have had several experiences singing.
If I could plug this just really quick to all you lovely viewers, if you want to hear Weasel and I sing together, there is a recording on my Vintage Wise section on my YouTube.
No, there's
and
not.
I believe.
No. Don't tell them that. There is no recording of me singing.
That's right. I gave the link to Johnny since they requested that I give it to him after I uploaded it. So have it.
Nope.
It was fun. You know it. It was fun.
I refuse to acknowledge such a thing exists.
All right. Without further ado, The Wolf and Blues. Oh, okay. I need to start off. That was just stupid. Okay. I forgot. I need to sound more glum. Wolf and Blues. Bitten by the wolf and blues, entrapment of the wolf and blues. I'll never hunt in these seasonal woods again. I'll never escape the loss of pain regained. Time to throw down the gun, time to worship the glaring sun. Lead all fears to the distant moon. Let all violence play another tune. Peace is with me, peace is why I'm free. Peace made the heartbeat sing. Peace is the union of wedding rings. Gets a go back. The teeth flashing, claw sharpening, jaw snapping, wolf and blues. I need no heavy wolf skin to give to my next of kin. I'll just let the wind blow, feel the affection of a sucking undertow. You can track me with my scent, and soon I'll be gone. There is no way to prevent the earth that we are standing on. Black and white, a technicolor pair, your alpha expression, predictable, fixed stare. The way of the world goes on without a care. Keep me warm against your coarse hair, carry home a delightful meal to share. The prey was raw and the meat was rare. I'll just find my way back to the den finding, moon howling, paw print making, wolf and blues. This Russian gray fool never knew how to keep his cool. Clever hunter, powerful beast, this lupine of the land, soon to be released. Are you the devil's favorite pet? Be sure an inferno is where we met. An emblem of your face, a crest that shows your eyes. Dante saw you as a disgrace, but I saw through all his lies. Clap for Lycon, burn his nightlight on. I just need to go back to the mate-making, cut-producing, food-chasing, wolf and blues. Come at me, nocturnal fiend, sick of every chapter of doubt. I'll walk away unseen before your daytime secret is out. Mr. Sporer saw your death as a one-time Croatian shooting game. Hollywood in the hills is your claim to misinterpreted fame. Bitten by the wolf and blues, step into these bipedal shoes. Romulus and Remus, your brothers, suckled the Canis goddess mother. Guess I'll never be a pack member. See you in the hibernation of December. I'll never go back. The adrenaline rushing, slaughter killing, territory defending, wolf and blues.
All right, thank you.
Hey, thank you for that flashback. That was fun. I can't believe it's actually been 5 years since Wolf's release.
Yeah, I mean, I have the book right here.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
It's 5 years.
Yeah, and 10 years since it was written.
Yeah. So, real quick, I'm gonna let you plug whatever.
I guess I'll get my cane and dentures now.
Yeah. All right. So, real quick, I'm gonna let you plug whatever you want to plug, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, whatever you got, and then we'll call it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay. So, this is part of a plug. It goes into the... Oh, sorry.
Dick!
Everybody's got one. You just don't need to be one. Okay, yeah, so my website, because I don't pay for it, it's just a teensy-weensy little long. It's zmwise.wixsite.com. youtube.com/ZMWiseThePoet. And once this is uploaded on my YouTube channel, I will definitely provide the link, and I'm sure Weasel will be providing it in the meantime. And it provides a great many pages where you can buy my books, where you can view my individual poems, my individual essays, or my lyrics, and it'll provide a great many relevant links to interviews such as these, book reviews that I've done, a section where I interview plenty of other artists. I've interviewed Weasel a couple times, so check him out there. And then also just links to my YouTube, to my SoundCloud, my Tumblr, my Twitter, and thanks to Weasel, IMDb credit. And then also another credit that I earned over the past couple years. Writers, yay! So that felt wonderful. And yeah, you can find Illinois Infinitarium on Amazon, and just as well as my other books. And I will keep you updated as far as future works come. There's always going to be something. I need to be prolific. It's whether it's writing or singing, just the arts are a craving. It's a drug to me. I need to create. I need to be immersed in it. I need to appreciate. I need to read and listen to other people's work, and just the arts. I have a full-time job, but the arts are my full-time life. So.
All right. Well, this is the second issue of. I've yet to title whatever I'm doing here. I think right now it's just kind of operating under the title of Weasel Chats. But
like that.
Yeah. But there will be another one next week. Waiting on a couple people to confirm, so we'll see how that goes. Just keep on the lookout if you're on Discord or Twitter. We have all that there. And yeah, so thank you for coming out and doing this. Or I say coming out, but getting online to do this. I'm so used to doing this in person.
Hey, no, same here. So, thank you so much for having me. It means a great deal. It's so great to see your face.
Well, I mean, it's almost natural that you were a guest, because it's like we've been friends for ever.
I think almost 10 years now.
Yeah, almost 10 years. So
crazy.
So yeah, crazy. I'm definitely gonna grab a copy of your latest book whenever I get a chance. So, but for anyone out there listening, or anyone who sees this on YouTube, thanks for looking this over, and see you in the next one. So, stop streaming.